Whenever somebody comes into the courthouse, we have no idea who they are. They could be a victim, a defendant, they could be a litigant, a juror, a lawyer, and we have no idea what they've gone through previously. But we do know that coming to court, given the business that we do, the kinds of disputes that we handle, it's going to be in and of itself a stress-filled, traumatic experience for most people. I suppose if you're coming for an adoption or to get married at the courthouse, but even that sometimes you can see that it is a stress-filled experience for people. And the kinds of decisions that we're making are going to be stressful for people. People are going to sometimes lose their liberty, their children, their house. And so we have recognized in our court that implementing the principles of procedural justice, that when people are, and this is based upon great research out of Yale, when people believe that they are being treated with respect, when they understand what is going on, when they have the opportunity to have their voice heard, that it will restore and instill confidence in our system, which is imperative in terms of people walking away feeling satisfied. The trauma-informed practice is a corollary to the principles of procedural justice, that when people are coming into the courthouse, we have to exercise universal trauma-informed practice, because if we're not, and we're triggering people, they won't hear what we're saying, they won't feel like they are being respected, and they will walk away unhappy customers and oftentimes not having a clue as to what has occurred. Thanks to both the county and the legislature, we are building a new courthouse, and we understood as we implemented a trauma-informed practice and as we built our new courthouse and looked at the principles of procedural justice, that both procedural justice and trauma-informed practice require that you build an environment that is not going to trigger people, and that you have people trained up who understand the people who are coming before them. So we've undergone a process of both in building our new courthouse. We had the Center for Court Innovation from New York come and do an assessment of our old courthouse, and it should be no surprise for any of you who've been in the building that it is not the most it's kind of an anti-trauma-informed building. It was built in a different era, beautiful as it is, but when you walk in, you're immediately going through security. There's no place to regroup and connect yourself. You're going down the same hall if you're a victim as your offender who's in custody in chains. You can be waiting outside a courtroom, which I've had, where a victim is being texted by her offender who's sitting in the same hallway because we have no way of separating people. And so, in building our new courthouse, we asked our community to come in and help us. We had victims come in and look at what was being proposed, and they came up with grand ideas. For instance, the architects who were building the courthouse, we have little rooms outside every courtroom so that people can meet, not in the hallways, to carry on the serious business before going into a courtroom. Lawyers can meet with their clients, reviewing restraining orders or plea petitions. The architects liked a solid wall. They thought it was aesthetically pleasing. The victims said that they needed to have little windows in those little rooms off the corridors where anyone walking by could see what was going on in the room, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be able to relax and concentrate on what they were doing. So environment is imperative, and we've designed the courthouse with the information from a trauma-informed lens, from a procedural justice lens, and the feedback that we've gotten from our partners in the community. The other piece of it is the training that we have for our staff and judges. Most people coming into a courthouse do not end up in a courtroom in front of a judge. They end up at a counter where they're filing forms, where they are paying fees and fines. And so we have tried very hard to make sure that our staff understand the people who are coming before them sometimes are not simply trying to be belligerent, unkind and unhelpful in their presentation, but that they are going through a trauma experience, having come into the courthouse and facing what may be the worst day of their life. And so we had Dr. Kapuya Moreland train all of our staff and judges on trauma-informed practice so that people have a much better idea. And we've had our judges and staff all trained up on the principles of procedural justice, with our goal being that when people come into the courthouse, the experience itself will not be trauma-inducing and triggering, and that they will be able to concentrate on what is the important work that they have before them and get the job done in a way that is understandable to them, where they feel respected, and at the end of the day, they have confidence in our court.
Thank you, Judge Waller. Co-Chair Przansky, Co-Chair Barker, Vice Chairs Williamson and Olson and Thatcher, and everyone on the committee, so nice to see you. I'm Judge Leininger here from the Clackamas County Circuit Court. And we have a very different set of experiences than the good people in the justice system in Multnomah County, but there are some themes that are universal and relevant, and I want to share for you some of those. First, the experience of being in a trial court in Clackamas County, it feels like being in an emergency field hospital, of law, because essentially you're dealing with people who are coming in. This is their first touch point with the justice system. They're in crisis. A lot of them have experienced trauma, and we're their first touch point. And there are some things that are going well, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples of ways in which we are using trauma-informed practices, I think, well. And then there are some real opportunities for improvement that I want to flag for you, because I think that as you consider Rep. Marsh's bill and your go-forward steps, these things matter. So a couple of things that are going well. The other day I was sitting in an intake meeting for DUI court. So that's when a new potential participant in DUI court is interviewed and learns more about the program and decides if they're going to commit to the treatment and accountability and the custody time that is part of it. It applies to people who have multiple DUIs. So people who have proven they have a pretty significant problem. This person was picked up with a blood alcohol content of almost 0.3, so that's almost 4 times the legal limit. This person had big problems. He is also a veteran who had served 2 combat tours and has significant PTSD. And when he was driving with so much alcohol in his blood just now, he was on his way to end his life. So he's a person with really serious trauma and really serious accountability that he needs to have. So we were talking to him about what DUI court might do for him. Again, it's reduced custody time, treatment, evaluation and treatment, and then you report in on a weekly basis to update the court on how you're doing with your progress. And he was really not that interested at first. And then the judge on the treatment team revealed that he is himself a service member. And another person on the treatment team revealed that he's a veteran who has some post-service health impacts that he's working on. And then we talked about the fact that we could work to align treatment through DUI court with some of the VA services this person was probably going to need and want. And by the end of the conversation, and then I thanked him for his service. And by the end of the conversation, this man, I think, is going to enroll in the DUI court program, which is good for the community, but also good for him, because what we need is this person to be healthy and whole and able to conduct himself. So that's a time when we use trauma-informed practice as well. Another time that I think was good was recently we had a young man who had his mom is in prison, his dad has been killed, unfortunately. He picked up a couple of drug counts, and we, as a team, decided to refer him to juvenile drug treatment court. So on the day, which is accountability, supervision out of custody, a bunch of drug treatment and counseling. So on the day he was going to enter drug treatment court, we arranged to have his mom be able to join by phone so that she could express, and she tearfully did, her pride that he was choosing to begin treatment. And We had his report card there because this young man, for all of his challenges, had earned all A's and B's for that semester, and we were able to get that on the record. And his foster mom and his half-sister both attested to the fact that he's a good young man with a lot of promise. And the upshot is he entered juvenile drug treatment court. He's getting accountability and treatment, but also, recognition that he's more than just his worst decisions. And he's on track to complete the program and graduate. So I